All right, let's just jump in. So kind of an impromptu session today. It's Wednesday, the 10th, 2024. We're going to keep this short, but I want to take a quick look at the account and let's see what we have going on. So overall, we're having a pretty good day. We're up $1,300, so everything's pretty green. I think we have just one account one futures here a little bit down, mainly because the market's up and we have a lot of uh, put debit spreads working. So we're down $8 in that particular futures expiration. But I want to get some trades on. Our BP usage is pretty good. Always got to reset this capital requirement. I know you guys are talking about that today as well, that your buying power percentage bumps all over the place during the day, and mine does the exact same thing. So periodically, I just have to go to capital required. I just refresh the report here on that, and then I get my more up to date. So we're at 59%, minus bill is 50%. So I'm right there at the point where, I don't know if you should add any more trades or not. We got 3 trades on yesterday. They were all strangles. I would like to get something else on today. So let's get into this a bit. Quick review here. We've got a PDS. This one's an adjusted put debit spread. If you guys remember from our last trading session. If you don't watch these videos, you guys are asking a lot of questions that's in the videos. I know there's a lot, but they're not that long. I'll try to keep them shorter here, but the member videos, if you go into the member videos section, all kinds of stuff about portfolio reviews and hedging trades. I would just keep up with those just so that you have a good sense of what that is when you're there, so that you know what we're talking about. Because if I'm making a trade or a move or something, it's probably been discussed somewhere. Anyway, we rolled the short put of the put debit spread on oil here from 69 to 69.5. We already cashed out $650 on this trade, and it's still nicely profitable. You do have to ignore a bit of the numbers up here because these really aren't accurate anymore on this one, since it was a roll. But you can see here that the long put is 53 cents and the short's 42. So we currently have 12-cent profit on a 50 wide. So it's still going to be a profitable trade if we do close this position. So if we close it, we're going to close it for 12 cents. It's going to generate another $480 in credit. So even though Tasty says you're losing 2,500, you don't, because they don't adjust for these rolls. Just know that if I close this out now, I'll take in another 480. So I'll take in almost $1,000 on this oil position. It's got 7 days to go. Oil's down fractionally today. I'm going to let it ride just a fraction. Okay, let's take a look here. This 112, nothing to do here, but debit spread's fine. We're not making nothing on the naked puts. Strangles up 25% in 26% in 21 days. Nothing to do. 112 here. Naked put. The put debit spread is not well, showing a little bit of a profit. So a small profit right now on the put debit spread, but nothing major. Naked puts, nothing to do there. So nothing to do. And then this is the trade we just put on. So we just put this strangle on yesterday. It's up almost 4% in a day. Pretty nice. And then here, somebody had asked questions earlier as well. Why do you leave the put debit spread on? And mainly because of hedging. And we've talked about hedging. If you haven't kept up with that, just go to member videos. Again, member videos. If you would go there and take a quick look, that's where you can see videos that are only Income Navigators. The Video Vault Daily. This is my daily stuff that I typically post up on YouTube. This is free stuff, but I would watch it. It does detail what I'm going to do the next day. There's a whole trade plan in here, and there is learning here. So I know some of you guys say, oh, I don't watch the beginning of it because it's all about charts. The all about charts is essentially me planning for the next day. And then the rest of it is me covering what we're doing. Then in the member videos here, though, this is all live training. Okay, so these are all the live trainings that either I've been doing or Igor does. And Candy does the new member orientation on Friday. This is where we'll post that video as well. So everything for members only goes into here. And I would watch each one of these when you have time. Can I watch the whole thing, during lunch? Well, if your lunch is an hour, you can. Sometimes they're a little bit longer. But I would go there and watch those videos. These will catch you up on almost everything. We discuss 90% of your questions are discussed in those particular videos. All right, so back to the trades here. I have a lot of put debit spreads. Now these two are going to expire. These are two FB trades at tier 1, tier 2. We never sold off heading into these, so these are going to fall off on Friday. And it is what it is. But right now, there's still a put debit spread acting as a hedge. Here's another put debit spread on a long-term 112. This one's got 9 days. Here's a standard 112, just a put debit spread. Here's just the long puts of a put debit spread where we actually closed the short puts out so that we have a long put hedge. Okay, and that's a pretty much a black swan type of hedge here. Then there's another 60 DTE hedge that we have on here. Then there's another put debit spread here. So there's 6 put debit spreads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus this piece of a 6th one plus a full hedge. So there's technically 6 hedges in this account right now without actually putting on hedges. I feel the account's in pretty good shape hedge-wise. So I'm not going to do anything. Nothing to do here. This one's at 62% on this BA. This BA is at 57% on the naked puts. We're not making money yet on the put debit. Well, this one's got a little bit of money coming in for the put debit spread, but nothing major. This one's at 62% on a standard 112, nothing to do. 92%, it's getting close, nothing to do. This one's at 39%. This naked puts at 85%. So nothing to do in here. If you took a look at just this grouping of trades, okay, this is what this looks like right now. Okay, the market is way up here. Okay, if we fall on just this grouping of trades, if we fall down into this 4,200 mark, which is 600 points from here, which is well over 10%. Okay, so 10% from here is only about 4,400. Okay, but this is a pretty nice 10. You really don't start to receive any pain until we're below 4,100 in the market. So I like the way this looks. I think we're in pretty good shape. I'm going to leave that thing alone right now on there. So those trades are good. These are 3 newer longer term 112s, 70% for the naked puts, 42 and 38, nothing to do on these trades. Gold 112, not at 95%, nothing to do here. This trade's up 180 some percent. We're making some pretty good money right now on this put debit spread is making some cash right now. It's only making about 200 and some bucks, but it's not too bad. It's a 10 wide at 3. So 10 wide times 300. Okay, the most I'm going to make on this thing would be 3,000 if we get into it. But we're not making that money yet. All right, so nothing to do on that. This is a new triangle from yesterday. This thing's in good shape right now, up 5% in one day. Can't complain about that. Looking at copper, naked puts not anywhere near closing on that 112. Here's a new copper triangle we put on yesterday. It's up 18%, by the way, in one day. Here's a live cattle 112. This thing's up. Well, it shows it's being flat right now. So it looks like we're flat-ish, which doesn't make sense. Okay, well, now I'm up 1,155 bucks. Gotta love Tasty. You just gotta love it. Anyway, this one's up 103%, but the naked puts aren't ready to be closed yet. We are making we're not making profits yet, but we're overcoming some of our put debit spread. And then on NQ here, this thing's up 88% on a 112. This ZB is up 42%, nothing to do. on these. So nothing to do in any of these, but I want to get a trade on. And what I would like to put on today is let's take a look at a put debit or a put ratio spread. I'm going to do this at 60 days. Okay, nothing in the trade plan on this because we've covered it in the past, but I'm going to just put one on today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up similar here, and I'm going to see if I can get this filled. I was having some trouble with Tasty earlier, but I'm going to jump down to right around the 6 delta, and that's where I'm going to buy the long. Okay, and then I'm going to go about 50 wide. I might move this a bit. I'm going to stay 50 wide on this, and I'm going to sell 2 of the short puts for 310. Let's take a look and see how that works, and then we'll fuss around with it and get it shaped correctly. Don't think that's correct. Is that right? Yeah, it is right. Sorry, I was zoomed out too much and getting a little, I confused myself. All right, anyway, here's the current trade right now. I'd be using about $500 to make 158 on this particular trade. I think that's I would like to get a little bit more. So we're going to shrink this down a fraction. I think when I looked at it earlier, this is 100 wide now. I don't know why I didn't do that. 42, 25. Okay, it's 100 wide. 50 might be the way to go to, but I'm going to look at this particular trade. So here's what this trade looks like right now. It is kind of a version. It's the original type of version of a 1-1-1 trade. We've got the one, the one, which is your debit put. We've got the bottom 2. Well, we're missing on a 1-1-2 here would be another 1 short in the middle here, which would change us into a 1-1-2. But you can make $233 on $1,178 in margin. So that's a pretty nice return. So 235-ish, 230, somewhere around that on 1178. This is a 20% return in this particular trade. I don't know if this is going to work right. Something tells me we're going to have a problem, but let's see. And I'm going to try to take in about $1,000 on this trade for a spec trade. And I'm going to spend up to $5,000. If you remember my trade plan, okay, or my trade tracker piece, when we were going through trades, I was sizing spec trades at approximately $5,000 in buying power to make roughly $250 per trade. And I was going to do 2 contracts or 2 of those 2 types of trades. Well, this one is still using the same 5,000, but if I take a 50% profit on 930, I'm going to make close to 500, not 250. So it's a pretty good trade. $500 if I close this at a 50% profit, okay, or 2x loss on the puts, okay. 50% profit on this one would still give me over 10% in 65 days, okay, which meets most of my criteria to do that trade. So I'm going to put on this particular trade, but Tasty's been giving me a problem. Yeah, price not effect. I might have to do it separate. Here, I do not know why Tasty does not want me to place this particular trade out there. So numbers seem pretty good. Selling 1, buying 2, or buying 1, selling 2. Let's just drop it down to this. Yeah, just it does not like it for whatever reason. So I'm going to have to do these as a separate trade. So I'll have to leg into it anyway. I thought I could do this in 1, but I guess I'll have to leg in. So down here, I'm going to pay, oh, who's chiming in? Nobody. All right, so I'm going to put this on and I'm going to leg into it with 2 different legs. So let's get rid of this trade here, and I'm going to buy this one for $9.15. Okay, and I'm going to sell two of these, and let's try to get $6.85 for it. And we did. So I don't know why I couldn't do it in one trade, but I did manage to do it in two trades. I'm going to group these together, and this is a March 15 ratio spread. Okay, so when I look at this ratio spread as well down here, take a look at it in the Analyze tab, and it should essentially give me the same piece. Well, I don't know why it's not. I'm not sure exactly what I'm missing on this one, but we took in $455 in credit, okay, so far on this particular trade. So we should have a nice credit when we're looking at it on the curve, but it's giving us a loss up here. I don't think I have anything else jumbled in with it. Okay, I have no clue. Casey's been a problem all day long. All right, so I've got one contract of these going, so you can see exactly how this trade came off. When I put these on, okay, I took in a credit on this particular leg, and hopefully you guys are following along because Tasty's a pain in the butt. But on this particular leg, you can see down here, my buying power is a almost $3,500 credit. Okay, and I'm actually going to put on two more of these. Got them for $9.15. Can we get it for $9.10? Yeah. All right. So, so far so good. I've actually increased the trade. So I actually lowered my the bought ones. Now let's go and since we have 3 of those, we want to get 6 of the short legs. Try to, yep, similar order, and we go 6. So I'm going to add 4 more. I took in these for $6.85 before. Looks like it's still $6.85. See if we can get that. Now we want $6.75 since the market's moving a bit. I'm going to let it sit for a bit. So anyway, there's the put ratio spread. If I have to move it, I will. On here, I'm just letting this thing work. $6.75. You know what? The market really moved that much in the last minute or two that I had this trade on. All right, so we got filled. All right, so 452 is my general cost. So I don't know what's going on with TT here. I should be able to put a ratio spread on in one trade, not leg it. Let's take a look at this in the Analyze tab. Okay, so I've only put on 3 of this one. And you can see here, this is what it looks like on here. If we stay up here in the tail, we'll make 678. If we drop down here, this thing will start to balloon up as time goes on. Okay, and this thing and the T+0 line rises. Okay, it's going to start to really increase potential tent. Now, if the stock starts to drop as well and price starts to fall, okay, on it, who knows where we end up. You can't even do that. So you can start to see that if we start to even come down in here, your average price will give you a little bit of a bonus. All right, so that was the trade today. So am I ratioing this based on my portfolio holdings, or is this a standalone? Not sure what you mean by standalone, or I'm just doing a ratio spread because I want to get some more theta in here, and I want to be careful of the buying power usage that I have on this particular trade. So if I was entering this trade and you want to get a better sense, let's put this thing into the tracker. Okay, and then we're going to enter this thing as a, you know what, let's add 3. I'm going to add it as if it was like a 112 style trade. So bear with me for a second. And let's enter this into the tracker. Okay, so the first thing we did was we did buy the March 15 ES. Okay, this is a ratio spread, which I don't think I have in here. So I'll fix this later. Let's look at what they call it for now. I'm just going to call it a naked put. It really doesn't matter what I'm doing right now. I will fix this later because I don't have ratio spread as a trade type. So it doesn't really matter for purposes right now. And this is the long put. And the long put here was at 42.25. And the short's going to be at 41.25. Okay, I paid... Let's see what Tasty's saying. Tasty's saying 9.12 is my average. Okay, so I've paid 9.12, which is a negative, and then my credit here on these was 6.82. Okay. All right, and then let's enter our margin. So our margin, I gotta actually combine it because I did this in the legs, which is really a pain in the butt. So the first one was 34.62 credit plus 69.22. 22 plus 34.62 was a credit to my BP of 10,384. And when I bought the 6 here, let's take a look at these. That would be 46.42 plus 92.95. It's 13,937. Okay. All right. So all in all, this is my put ratio spread. It's the 42.25, 41.25 put ratio spread. I don't have that as a trade type in here, and I'm pretty sure I don't have that as a category either. So we'll call it a spec trade for now, which is what it is. Okay, so the net price on this thing was 9.12 and 6.82. So I know maybe I'm talking, maybe this is boring for you guys, but it gives me a chance to figure out exactly what my 9.12, 6.82. So this should be equal to that plus. And it should be like 4 something. I got to double the size of this one. Okay, yep, 452. So 452 was my opening credit on this particular trade. My margin on this one is the 3,500 bucks. Okay, so I'm going to take in here. This should be right. Quantity. 2. Okay. All right, so I'm taking in 452 bucks in credit on this trade. In fact, these are 3s. I'm sorry. I'm having a moment here. So So 678. So now we're right. So we took in $678 on this trade, and we're using about 3,500 in margin to put this particular trade on. I hope that makes sense, and you can see what we did. So this is a put ratio spread that we did, and it's a pretty good opportunity right now. Again, it's a 19% return, but we're gonna close this at 50%. So I'm going to take profits at 50% with a 2x loss, like I do with most every other strangle or standard type trades. And I think this is all I need to share. So this gives you an idea of what we're doing. I will change this to a ratio spread when I post it. But that's how we get on a ratio spread. That's how we've entered it into what we do. And that trade's now running here. So again, that 452, we're in good shape on it. And we've added some additional theta. So if we look at our theta, it's now 810. It was like 7 something earlier. So we've added, 40, I'm sorry, we've added $34 in theta. I've added a little bit of positive delta as well. But we've also added $34 in theta, taking us over 800 now. So theta's back up. We got a nice little theta trade on. We have a lot of different things that we can do with it. I'm going to give you one more piece. I mean, is Eddie on here? I don't know. I don't know if Eddie's in here, but I want to certainly hang on. Yeah, Eddie. So Eddie's on here, and I don't mean to call Eddie out because he wasn't expecting to be called out. So I do want to welcome Eddie, Stacy, and Candy. Candy as a full moderator, and Eddie and Stacy are going to definitely be contributors here, and they're going to be sharing their journey. But Eddie, I don't know. I want to touch base. I'm not going to trade it, but I wanted to talk about your ratio. And I know Eddie loves ratio spreads, I believe. I trade with another gentleman named Min, and Min loves ratio spreads. They are a great trade. They're a very flexible trade. It's a really good trade in my opinion. I mean, I do like ratio spreads, and these things are all built, and it's a simple trade. You have less moving parts, lots of good things to it. But one of the things that Eddie was talking about yesterday, and Eddie, if I blow this for you, let me know. Okay, I'm just reading here. So Eddie, if I screw this up, but one of Eddie's concepts that he had put into the member trades, and then we moved it to a forum yesterday. It's pretty interesting. I thought we would take a quick look at it, and I will move on. But let's look at this February 29th trade. So right now we have this February 29th trade, and we're almost at 95% here. But one of the suggestions that Eddie has of a different way to manage this, and again, Eddie, I don't want to speak for you, and I don't want to steal your thunder. I'm going to introduce it here, and then I'm going to let you. That was basically, I'm going to roll a grenade into the room, and then we're going to log off in 8 minutes. And I'm not going to go in depth or answer questions. I'm going to let Eddie deal with all that. So Eddie can deal with the fallout of the grenade going off. I'm just going to roll the grenade into the room for all of you. Because Eddie, I want to help you spur your new channel here on Discord by dealing with the fallout of me botching your trade. So this will be good. Here comes the grenade. So the idea here is, and for those of you that were in the members trades last night, you kind of got a sense of it, but let's take a quick look at this one from an analysis standpoint. Okay. There you go. So here is the current, oh my gosh. I might just blow up Tasty or something here. Oh, don't quote me on that. Why? Let me get rid of any trades that might be. It could be me. Where the heck is my trade? All right. I'm really ready to. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, so you guys are smarter than I am. I'm changing everything today. Still a mess. Okay. Sorry. This is what you get when you do too many things at once. All right. Anyway, here's the original. Here's what the look of the original trade was. Yep, and thank you guys. So thank you guys for being more on the ball than I am. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Here's the original trade. We're way up here. We're nowhere near down here. But you have a nice tent down in here. If you can remember this or write it down, this tent is $7,000 if we hit this tent. Okay, we're also at 213, or I'm sorry, $2,130 in the tail on this. So you got the tent, you got the tail. Okay, and typically when we get to 95 here, we're going to close these naked puts. Well, a suggestion here, and this is February 29th, a suggestion here is to, right above the trade, I got to remember, 34.50. I'm just going to drop one in here. We would buy. So I think the way Eddie was explaining, again, I'm going to blow his trade, but this is let's say this is $100 to close these two naked puts. Okay, so here's that trade. It's $1.07. There's 4 contracts. Okay, which means this is roughly $200. Okay, so it's $200 if I close this trade now. Well, instead of closing that trade, can we put something on for roughly the same type of cost or less, and turn this into a ratio spread down here? So since I have 4 contracts, I would add 2. I'm just going to pick this $2 strike here, not the 400. I think, Eddie, you may have talked about doing more, but let's just leave it here for now, and let's take a look at what this looks like. So here's now, so here's now what this beast looks like. So here's what we've done, or what Eddie's suggesting you guys do is, we've already know what these naked puts are, and instead of closing these 4 naked puts early, okay, it's turning this thing into a ratio spread. Now, by adding essentially $220 to the trade. Yes, I am conscious and competent today. I'm kind of unconscious and competent today. All right, so by adding this in here, and you can size it however you like, okay? You can move it down where it's less costly, $145, but instead of us paying $200, to close these naked puts, I could buy a put here and turn this whole bottom piece into a giant put ratio spread. And look at the T+0 line on this now as it lifted it up. But also, let's take this off. Here's the original trade, right? So here's the trade we just talked about a few minutes ago. $7,000 in the trap, but you can see at $3,460, we start to lose money beyond that, okay? And I get most of you guys are all freaked out about black swan hedges and what's going to happen when we go past here, okay? But, well, let's look at the buying power. That was my thought too, was you're not going to get the buying power back, but let's take a quick look at that. But what have we done, okay? And the higher you move this up, okay, the bigger that tent can be, but the more expensive it gets. So let's just stick right around here for $200, right? Look at this tent now. Remember before it was 7,000? Well, still the beginning part of this tent is 7,000. But you remember we ended at 3460 last time. Okay, we ended right around here. Well, now we're going all the way down here. We still make profits all the way down to 3,100 now. Okay, we've added 360 points to the downside on this trade. Okay, so instead of 3,460, 3,100, so 350 points to the downside. So 350 points divided by the current 4804 is roughly another 7.5%. So you've given yourself 7.5%. You've also increased the size of this trap from 6 or 7 grand all the way up. If you hit this part of the tent, you're talking 14, 20, 14,000, 20,000, 26,000, 30,000, 30,000, 28. Okay, so you now have created a monstrous trap. Okay, Eddie can name it and do whatever he wants with this thing. It's not my trade. This is his idea. I wanted to throw it out there because I did mention it. But I think it's interesting. The only thing here, and my two concerns on the Eddie trap, Andrew, my only two concerns here is that you don't close these naked puts, which means you keep the risk on of the naked puts until expiration, okay? Because you're not taking them off now. I guess if they get to some minuscule piece, you're taking them off. But you're not, so now you have to wait 120 days to get paid as opposed to 90 days. And then Igor, I will check that in a second. And look at buying 8 puts for half the price of the 4. Sure. Oh, you're just talking quantity, Igor? Like, I don't know where. It had to be like really close, right? Though, Igor, I think down here. I don't know if I can do half the. Well, you're down here is what you're doing because essentially, Igor, you're creating like a put ratio spread. Igor, is that what you're suggesting? Is creating a more like the risk twist spread or something like that. Half the price would be something like that. Okay, which is also a pretty nice deal. So you could also consider doing this. These now at 95 are half. Well, they're not even half. I mean, 50 is half, right? Okay, but I'm okay with that. So Igor, I think this is more what you're suggesting because these 8s would be half the price.
Yeah, so basically, you look at the price of, what are these 4 short puts are
right now they're at $1.08.
So you look at buying 8 for like 50 cents each, whatever's going for 50 cents right now.
Yeah. So here's the 50 cents. So this is what.
But this way you get all of your buying power back, I think, or most of it.
Yeah. So if I place this trade, you can see I'm freeing up 48. So we're going to use Igor's as the $4,800 credit, right? So we get 4,800 doing it with Igor's. Now you do have this valley of death, but if we black swan it, you can now make hundreds of thousands.
Right.
And then with Eddie's little version here, okay, and we're ratio spreading this at the same price as what we would be buying these back for. So I'd be spending $200 here. Now Eddie's is also freeing up buying power of 4,043. So Igor's version.
The only difference is, I think, is the Vega. Like we get long Vega. So it's more, so what I suggested, and I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I think that the one that I suggested is more of a black swan hedge.
Exactly. Yep. So where you can, that's where the really big bucks kick in is when you turn into those risk twist type spreads. You got to deal with the Valley of Death, but the Valley of Death only occurs close to expiration. You can avoid that by closing it out early if we're not getting, if we're not going to hit it and you have some time. So you can manage the Valley of Death. I know everybody freaks out about it, but it really
I just want to add one. I just want to add one more thing,
yeah.
and I'm not.
Yeah, you're good.
The biggest problem, I think, is, and this is what everyone is not thinking about, if the underlying was down to, say, about 3,400, I think the margin in this trade, even though we're in the tent and looks great, but the margin expansion would potentially crush the trade unless you have the buying power to hold it. They're doing something where you're buying 8 puts farther out of the money, and I think that it would help with the buying power increase because those further out of the money puts with increase in Vega, and they would relieve some of that potential buying power expansion.
Absolutely.
But I think both are great ideas, and
Yeah.
everyone should do what works best for them.
Two completely, two different things, and I've also mentioned. So we're going to get rid of that. Get back to the original trade. Okay, my other piece was here on the, if I'm buying back these two, okay, I'm going to close that position today. I'm freeing up 47.55. All right, so Eddie's version frees up $4,000. So you're freeing up almost all of your buying power, almost, Igor's version is freeing up all the buying power completely and creating a black swan hedge. Eddie's version is freeing up most of the buying power and is creating a large tent on a grind down. If you want to make a bunch of money on a grinding down trade, Eddie's version is going to give you that giant tent on a grind down. Okay, if we're slowly eking down, but you got to be aware of that buying power as Igor's mentioning. Okay, if you're looking for a black swan hedge, Igor's version is going to give you that. And then for me, it's buying these back here. And so I like, I'm looking at potentially buying those back. Do I still have them highlighted? I do not. And I was buying the naked puts back. Okay, on this, which then turns it into just a put debit spread. And then I'm also suggesting that you could buy back your short puts of the PDS as well at 95%. Right now they're at 95%. So I could also just buy these two back. That would turn this into just a total black swan hedge as well. So if I close these at 95, I close these at 95. Okay, I'm only giving up a little bit, but I'm left with a $4,000 put for that strike. So if I looked at what a two $4,000 puts, oops. Okay, then I've also turned it into a black swan hedge as well. Now we have to come all the way down to 4,000 for that thing to even kick in, but that's what a black swan hedge is for. And that's what this trade up here is. This long-term 112 long put, that's all that's left here. Is I've closed out the naked puts at 95%. I've closed out the short puts of the PDS at 95%. And I'm just stuck here with a total black swan hedge, which is definitely going to help me as well. So I just wanted to make sure I throw some ideas at you guys just to get you thinking of different things that you can do with the trade. There's so much flexibility when it comes to, I think, these bear trap trades that you can do just about anything that suits you. But if you like, if you like that idea of a little bit more of a grind down hedge version, then you can sell something here close to that same price of $1.05 times 4, which is $200. So I'd be looking at like the $2 or something here. Okay, and then you turn it into this. The nice thing here is even if you only come down and you may not even get in the tent, because of what you've done here, this area may really start to profit more than the original potentially. But you got to really watch your buying power for me. I think it's a matter of preference, and I think these are some pretty good different ideas. I'll let Eddie kind of do his thing there. And then the higher up you move this thing, obviously you can make something gigantic. All depends on how much money you want to spend. Okay, you can turn it into that for $1,200. You can add that and turn it into like a giant tent. If you really think, okay, we're hitting a recession, then maybe you drag it up even further. If you want something smaller and less of a problem, and you want to keep your tent the same, I would just move it around a bit. So anyway, you got a couple different options for you. Really up to you. What start to think about what is your goal, what are you trying to get out of it, and if you want a black swan hedge, my thing is I'm closing these because I'm taking that risk off, and I'm taking my profit at 90 days. I don't know if I want to wait 120, and I don't know if I have the patience, even though I have patience. And then selling these two shorts and turning these things into these black swan hedge types here. And one of the things I suggested yesterday is that if you are creating a new trade, okay, and you're doing the 120s, and I got to run here in a minute. So if I'm creating the new trade here, looks something like this. Okay, so here's a standard 112. What you can do is, instead of creating a trap that's $1,100, and I'm going to eat away at that trap a tad, come up to 6. Okay, go to 6 delta. You can go to 7 if you want. I mean, some of you guys are doing 6, some of you are doing 7s. It doesn't matter. You can do a 9 if you really want to, but maybe from 5 to 6, just by moving 50 points up on the naked puts. Okay. What did that do to my buying power? Okay, it increased my buying power a bit. Okay, $500, but it's also increased $150 in this trade, in the tail. So it's $150 in the tail more, and $150 more in the tail because I'm at 25 versus 22. So it's $3 more times 50 multiplier. Okay, and you get the point. But that's 150. So $3 times the 50 multiplier is $150. $150 divided by the $500. Okay, pretty easy math for you there, but that's a 30% return. So it's increased your overall return, and I earned $300 more, which would cover, in my opinion, it covers the cost of buying the short. Let's see if I can find one that's closed. Here's one at 95 as well. Okay, it's $1.60 to close it. Okay, so times 2, so it's, that's $1.60. So it's a $1.60, 2 contracts. It's going to cost me $160. Well, if I take in an extra 150 by moving put debit spread up just 1 delta to 6, okay, now I've built in the money to do this on a free basis, so I can still close my naked puts at 95, and then I can close these for about $1.50. Okay, and that $1.50 was what I took in extra. Or $150 is what I took in extra on the trade by moving the delta up just fractionally. So now it's basically a free black swan hedge that I can start to stack on here. Okay. All right, so I hope that makes sense. I'm going to run. I just wanted to do a quickie video for you guys. I wanted to show you the put ratio spread. I don't know why Tasty made me put it in two trades, but we've got that running. I could have used more BP, but I think it's fine. Okay, I'm still at 60 BPUs here, minus my 10 on Bill. So I'm still at 50%. So I was able to get a trade on and this put ratio spread that's going to generate me a decent amount of money for not a ton of buying power. Okay, so if you remember this trade, it's $678 is the tail, using only 3,500 in buying power. So it's a 20% initial, and I'm going to close it at 50%. And this is a pretty decently flat T+0 line because I don't have that trap up here higher, which is causing, and I don't have that extra, what I don't have is the extra short put that turns this thing into a 112. It's right now, it's just a 1-2, missing the middle 1. By adding that initial short put, you make this line a lot steeper. All right, so there's the trade for today. That's what I'm putting on here, and that's all I got. All right, and then so you can check out the Eddie trade there, and check out his new channel. I'm sure he'll get some stuff up there as we follow him. We're moving through what he's sharing. Stacy's getting her account set up to do a $25,000 challenge on a small account for one of her daughters. So tune into that with you. And then again, keep on experimenting. We appreciate all of you guys. I hope you liked some of the new changes and the different order we've got in the service. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We will see you in the Discord. All right, take care.